House Democrats have delivered the second impeachment case against Donald Trump to the Senate. Many Republicans are calling this illegitimate and unconstitutional. As we mentioned earlier, the trial is set to begin in 2 weeks, is already facing hurdles as Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts announced he is not going to be taking part in the process. He's handing that position to Vermont Democrat Senator Patrick Leahy. And after days of declining to say where he stands on impeachment, President Biden gave an off-camera interview to a CNN reporter yesterday.
And he told me, Aaron, quote, just a few minutes ago, I think it has to happen. He said that he did understand the effect that it could have, of course, given that it will basically be all-consuming for the Senate, given however long it could last. But, Aaron, he said he thinks the effect if that trial for President Trump, former President Trump, didn't happen, would have a worse effect if it did not go forward.
Joining us now is former congressional candidate in Illinois and founder of the Defense of Freedom PAC, Catalina Lauf. Catalina, good to see you.
Thanks for having me on.
So let's start with the impeachment trial now going to the Senate. The articles have been transmitted from Nancy Pelosi, the Democrats in the House. Explain how we are supposed to achieve, as a Democrat state, unity through what will clearly be a divisive process.
You know, it's incredible of how much work needs to actually be done, and they choose this now, taxpayer-funded, another boondoggle, another sham to move forward. And clearly, it's not going to have the support that they need by the GOP Senate senators. And I think it's just a complete waste of time. And what a show!
It's ridiculous, but we've got Senator Rand Paul going into some of the specifics here about his view of just impeachment as it is currently being conducted, the post-presidency impeachment. Here's what he said.
I want the Democrats to raise their hands if they have ever given a speech that says, take, back, fight for your country. Who hasn't used the words fight figuratively? And are we going to put every politician in jail? Are we going to impeach every politician who has used the words fight figuratively in a speech? Shame. Shame on these angry, unhinged partisans who are putting forth this sham impeachment, deranged by their hatred of the former president.
What do you think of Senator Paul's analysis?
He's right. And there was a judge, Michael Luttig, that did a great opinion article in the Washington Post really describing the constitutionality of this. And it's completely unconstitutional. It shows especially the progressive Democrats that are really trying to put the pressure on the rest of the Democratic senators. They are so power hungry. They want to tarnish not only the Trump presidency, but the Trump movement as a whole in doing this. And also the fact that there's so much that should be getting done here, and they choose to do this. It's all political, and it's completely unconstitutional. And I do hope it eventually goes to the Supreme Court so that finally we can resolve this, so that another Republican president is not going through the same process down the line. Because once we've seen the gate open now, they're doing it now a second time. It is unbelievable. It shows worse on them than it does actually on the president being impeached twice.
What do you think of those Republicans who have already come out to say that they're either open-minded to convicting the president in this whole process or are already leaning in that direction? People like Portman, Mitt Romney, and others.
Yeah, well, you see, Portman's not going to run again in 2022 because he's obviously going to have a primary challenger. Mitt Romney, I'm sure, is going to have the same issue when he's up for re-election. We saw the complete backlash with the GOP congressional elected officials who actually are now, there were 10 of them, that are receiving so much backlash, not only from donors, but more importantly from their constituents, that is still a heavily Trump base. There are people that still believe a ton in the America First movement. And now that these elected officials are saying these things, they're going to be up for a huge political battle in their respective terms, because it is not the way that Republican voters want this to go.
What do you think about Mitch McConnell's statement? We have it for everybody at home here on the Democrats' commitment to protect Senate rules, specifically the filibuster here. As we know, if the filibuster is maintained, Democrats will not be able to just ram through every aspect of their legislative agenda. But if they remove that filibuster because of the 50-50 tie, plus Kamala Harris as vice president, who is then president of the Senate, the Democrats could, in fact, push through anything that they want. McConnell here seems to be suggesting that he feels confident that at least a couple of Democrats would not go along with removing that Senate rule. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think, look, people like Senator McConnell and others they're good at politics. And I will tell you, they know what's at stake if they remove that. And it's not fair. Look, the country is not progressive, and I wouldn't even consider it Democrat. While the Democrats hold, all three branches now, it's by the Democrats in terms of bodies here. They are hanging on a limb. I mean, we almost took back the House, Republicans, this past election cycle. We have a good chance of taking back the Senate up in 2022. And so to be able to unleash this kind of big power grab, they can push whatever they want, is not exactly what I think the country is moving towards. And again, I think they're going to have a massive political battle. Now we at least have kind of stalled things. And as somebody who's, I ran for Congress, and the thing when you are running, especially on the Republican side, we don't want to pass a significant amount of legislation. We shouldn't have so much going through all the time. And every time legislation is passed, it's a little bit chipping away at individual liberties. And so to be able to, remove the filibuster, progressives and Democrats want to be able to push whatever they can. A lot of the more pragmatic Democrats, I think, realized what was at stake if they ended up eliminating that. So
Now,
I'm glad that.
I was going to say, Kelly, I know you ran in this last election. You had a close one, and you're perhaps going to consider again in the future. What do you, as somebody who's seen it from the inside, and I know you ran in the state of Illinois, what do House Republicans have to focus on between now and the midterms to make that happen and take back control of the House?
Yeah, the biggest thing, and I will tell you, even in non-border states, is immigration reform. And you see Joe Biden's immigration agenda, and it is absolutely atrocious. I think that is a policy issue that was completely not talked about enough, I believe, in this last cycle. And then, of course, fiscal conservatism. I mean, look at the massive amount of debt. You see progressives now really pushing a lot more statism, a lot more between checks, universal basic income, these things that are just completely blowing up and continuing to balloon our government are things that we need to be talking about as GOP, as conservatives. Where is our message? Where is the essence of the America First agenda now for congressional candidates moving forward? And we need to get back to those values.
Catalina, thanks so much for joining. Good to have your expertise.